Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Marty Ross, and I just want to give you a quick walkthrough of what we discussed last night in Conversations with Marty Ross MD for October 3rd, 2024. You should be aware that I have moved the recordings for Conversations with Marty Ross MD into the Lyme United community. And what you're watching here right now is the Lyme United community, and this is the recordings page for that. So if you want to watch Conversations with Marty Ross MD, you can see it at Lyme United, and you will need to join Lyme United to actually participate in the webinars and see the recordings. And that membership is now free, so I encourage you to do that. So if you're trying to decide if it's worth your while, here's what we discussed. I'm just going to show you. So there's the video. You could watch it in full mode if you want to, like that. And then the topics we covered were COVID vaccine, MyLymeData regarding vaccine reactions, fatigue and hair loss, Lyme disease treatment with herbal versus prescription antibiotics, gut health and microbiome support, Morgellons, we covered that extensively, surgery concerns in Lyme disease, what about treating the cyst form of Lyme, covered a detoxification. We talked about how to handle brain fog and fatigue. We looked at a specific case of a tick bite and how to handle that better. We talked about the timing of herbal tinctures. We discussed what to do about immune support for herpes. We talked about brain retraining programs like the Gupta, DNRS, and Primal Trust methods. We looked at chronic infections and dietary concerns regarding those. We talked about mast cell activation syndrome and how yeast overgrowth plays into that. We looked at transfer factors for immune support. We talked about how to boost your T cell function by improving what are known as T regulatory cells, specifically how you could do that with the supplement called Thymogen Alpha 1 and low-dose naltrexone. We talked about physical cysts and what you can do with those in the bodies. We looked at ivermectin. We discussed various peptides like BPC-157 and Thymogen Alpha 1. I reviewed various herbal protocols, including the Zhang protocol. We talked about the prevalence of various tick-borne infections and why it's important to look at the possibility you may have a number of them. We talked about the role of testing and diagnosing illnesses. We looked at various treatment regimens and how to use them to not mess up your gut microbiome. We discussed Stephen Buhner, and as in Buhner herbs. We looked at ways of boosting your immune system with mushrooms and peptides, and we talked about long-term symptom management strategies. All right. So I will post all of these things that we discussed in the summary below the video. And in the summary below the video, I will also include a link where you can sign up as part of Lyme United so you can see the video recording of last night's event. And again, I want to emphasize that Lyme United is now free. It's our community for people living with Lyme. Let me just give you a quick tour of Lyme United. So Lyme United has a section called Community Action, and there's a Say Hello space where people can introduce themselves. There's an area called Member to Member, and in Member to Member, this is where members get to talk back and forth. I do review and keep an eye on Member to Member to make sure that there are the ideas being discussed are safe and that they're not going to harm a person. Okay, but generally our members don't need any oversight from me. They're great, very knowledgeable. Okay, the other key areas I would point out is an office hours with Marty Ross MD, and in office hours, which I respond to written questions Monday to Friday between the hours of 12 to 1 Central Standard Time, Austin, Texas time. So write your questions, I respond. The other space is our webinar space, the Conversations with Marty Ross MD. This is where you would sign up for the next webinar. There's also an event space called Unities Take Charge. This is where our members can host events. And then finally, we keep all of our recordings, including recordings of Marty Ross or Conversations with Marty Ross MD here in the event recording space. So I encourage you to join us to watch the recording of last night's webinar.